Pearl Harbor Day, and you are watching the broadcast of Crowdfunding News TV.
And we are crowdfunding guys.
And we are the crowdfunding guys.
Our passion is crowdfunding in its all forms and flavors.
This video is produced to provide you with the most relevant and daily crowdfunding news, campaign information. It is here for you to save time. Hopefully, with quality and value and convenience, we will provide you with the best 30 minutes of crowdfunding knowledge we can find. Let me focus on our top 5 news stories of the day. The first one is brought to us by the venture capital world, and it really relates to how crowdfunding hardware makers hit it really big in 2012. Crowdfunding pioneers in Indiegogo and Kickstarter opened up their fundraising platforms in 2008 and 2009. And it moved slowly at first, but by 2012, the first year, tech investors and entrepreneurs took in crowdfunding very seriously. Hardware projects, especially those of small startup buildings after these humble beginnings, hit project sizes like the Pebble Technology crowdfunding campaign achieved $10.2 million in funding. Skull Candy, Lemon Oaks Labs, Baya Sportswear, and many others have raised millions through these donation, pre-order, and charitable crowdfunding methodologies. The VCs have been looking for excuses to get out of investing in companies that they don't believe are quite ready yet, since actually for quite a long time. They say that no startups are really ready for millions of reasons they come up with. And now when they look at a funded, concept-proven, crowdfunded startup, you can show them and yourself immediate validation that it was the right thing.
Is this the same specialist that they told us to buy Facebook?
Well, let's not even go down that path.
Okay, thank you.
Our second article talks about crowdfunding takes some early hits in the way they're going after the enforcement side of ensuring the integrity of crowdfunding. This news is brought to us by the investmentnews.com article, and it says the Bay State charges 2 firms with fraudulent security sales efforts in their enforcement act in the small crowdfunding area that has great potential. Commonwealth Secretary William Galvin filed fraud charges against 2 out-of-state oil and gas operations in conjunction with their sale of unregistered securities to Massachusetts investors. Both Prodigy Oil and Gas and Synergy Oil LLC of Oklahoma are allegedly involved in the sale of unregistered securities to investors, a little early on what is called crowdfunding, equity-based. The Securities and Exchange Commission has yet to write and publish these rules for crowdfunding, and they have stressed that it's important that the SEC Commission implement their rules and regulations to exclude bad actors. Interesting follow-up to this was that there's been an analysis in the internet domain by the U.S. states and all of Canada that there are nearly 8,800 crowdfunding domain names as of November 30th.
Wow.
Quite an explosion. And that nearly 900 of them were already started at the beginning of this year. It tells us that roughly 2,000 of them contain some valuable content, 3,700 had no content at all, and nearly 3,000 apparently be markers for crowdfunding naming conventions to be used as placeholders down the road. Of these domains with crowdfunding in their name, about 6,800 of them have appeared since April of this year, when the Jobs Act was signed into law. Sounds like a crowd's rush to me, doesn't it?
That's a real estate, a piece of real estate is important.
Well, the internet is a valuable tool in this. The SEC clearly needs to complete and publish these rules and regulations to ensure the benefits of crowdfunding, the capital formation methodologies, the supports for the business community, and the public investor are all protected, and that we can move our stagnant economy forward. So we'll keep hoping on the SEC to move forward on the regulations. Our third article comes from Christie Street, a new one-up kind of Kickstarter version of a porthole but they add audits and backer refunds to campaigns. On Kickstarter and most of the crowdfunding platforms, the conventional wisdom is backer beware. Just as a product gets funded doesn't really mean that it will ever see the light of day and produce a product. One entrepreneur, Christy, has produced a new crowdfunding platform to hopefully address this issue. Funds will be dispersed in thirds so the backers can get a partial refund if a product fails to achieve a pre-production prototype or manufacturing goal. Sounds like some protection. Options are available to validate campaigns with manufacturing industry experts and a formal campaign review process targeted to ensure viability. Additionally, investors may be able to insure their investments in order to preserve their entire investment for a premium or a fee. Sounds like an interesting way to cover your bets.
How about I go ahead and get crowdfundingpolice.com?
Well, or else crowdfundinginsurance.com.
Oh, that's a very good.
That's another good one. Well, anyway, this is an ongoing effort, and additional information will be available here at Crowdfunding Daily News as we track these rules and alternatives to the methods before. Taking a peek over at the international side of the world, in London, Reuters reports peer-to-peer lenders welcome step forwards and more towards a tighter set of defined regulations. Sounds like we're going to get it all ruled and tightened up so that it is really a viable alternative globally. The peer-to-peer lending industry in Europe, led in London here, has welcomed a commitment by the British government to regulate the internet-based financiers, describing it as a watershed moment. This parallels the efforts in the U.S. to bring understandable guidelines to the debt and equity-based crowdfunding methodologies as authorized here in the U.S. under the Jobs Act of 2012. The crowdfunding industry has developed in response to reduced bank lendings for small and medium-sized businesses because of those tougher capital rules and regulations and the scrutiny in lending money. As well as making sure individuals are aware of the internet risk involved with putting money in these startups, the industry wants to ensure the platforms vet the business adequately to avoid scams. And that makes great sense. Yes. Views differ about how to tackle these risks without stifling an increase, or actually stifling an increasingly important source of funding. And this matter is complicated and has various rules and regulations already in place, and they vary by country, so there's going to have to be a level of homogenizing all of this. Here in the U.S., we're anticipating the SEC and the other coordinated domestic financial regulatory entities will complete their efforts and produce the authorization processes for early 2013 for this bill. It seems that this new cycle is all about regulations and the assertions that crowdfunding in the U.S. and North America will be fair, upright, and a validated process. Our final article for the day comes from the NASAA, which is the North American Securities Association, Administrators Association, and they again, as they had mentioned from recent months of growth in the crowdfunding environment, are warning and concerning that their job is to make sure the potential for abuse doesn't exist. The Jumpstart Our Business Startups Act for the small business and entrepreneurs are able to tap the crowd and search for investments to finance the small business, once the SEC adopts the rules to make sure we can do so. And regulating this is going to be important to make sure it's good and safe and correct. The SEC tells small businesses in an advisory article from advise1.com, the Securities and Exchange Commission and state regulators are warning to small businesses and entrepreneurs to hold off on joining the crowd and wait until the SEC has finalized the crowdfunding rules offering shares for public ventures in their sale. And that makes perfect sense. It's illegal right now to sell equities in an equity-based crowdfunding environment until the rules are written. The Jobs Act directly adopts rules, or has been directed to adopt rules within 270 days of the April 6th signing in 2012 to implement a new exemption to the existing restrictions that will allow the entrepreneurs and small businesses to get investments in their ventures through crowdfundings. Kim, the director of the SEC, this department, says that a time frame for an SEC rulemaking on the equity crowdfunding is a bit challenging. The SEC staff in the agency's Division of Corporate Finance and Trading and Markets, the CFTM, as well as many of the other agency economists, are working closely together to develop the recommendations for this commission. Let's hope we get a new SEC director appointed and confirmed soon to bless this. The requirements for the state and federal securities laws regarding disclosures and many of the other materials of fact and risk to investors remains in place based on our existing securities laws, and they will be implemented for this in the crowdfunding concept, which provides, the potential to provide legitimate, small, innovative enterprises with access to capital that they may not have other had. We're done with the news articles of the day. David, what do we have in the crowdfunding campaign news?
Beautiful reviews. I'm going to go ahead and review. I just want to add something to the last message you had. The main thing is, as SEC passes these regulations, we realize that it's going to be crowdfunding 1 and then crowdfunding 2 and crowdfunding 3. They should not really wait until it's perfect. They can release it. The crowd would do the policing. We're going to learn a lot about it. Meanwhile, we are not going to be behind the 8 balls when it comes to other countries and other crowdfunding portal outside the United States. Now, I'm going to, as usual, click to the section here. The very first crowdfunding campaign that we're going to review is actually called Hackers Evolution Duality. It is an online game, and this particular campaign it simulates hacking. And for software programmers and also people that keep hearing about hacking, it's kind of interesting. It's an Indiegogo campaign, and it's based and development is done in Romania, and basically is an indie studio founded over 10 years ago, and authors of the successful Hacker Evolution games that actually has developed this thing. Campaign is looking for about $25,000 worth of funding, and as of today is $520. The days left is about 118 days. They have chosen the duration that usually we don't recommend. 30 days to us is a good one, 60 is the most, but again, we'll see how this thing comes in. We found it very interesting and engaging. The video is on YouTube, and you guys can take a look at it, how the game is played. There are 6 rewards there, between $5 to $50, and basically Hacker Evolution is the longest standing game in engineered hacking simulation, and we are still true to our indie roots, and we are probably one of the few companies that offers a very friendly and personal service to the gamers. And that was very interesting. I also noticed that at this time, if you go to their website, you'll see that they are selling a version of this game at somewhere about $150, I'm sorry, $19.95. And that was very interesting because I do not know what version of this they are basically putting down for the crowdfunding. The next one is I'm trying to go back to okay. The next okay. Now I need to find out. No, guys, seems like I lost my placeholder here. And correct. Fortunately, we are collaborative in a cloud, and we can take a campaign and take a look at all this thing differently. The next campaign basically is based on a campaign called Bees Over Badgers. A very, very interesting one. Again, the campaign is in YouTube, you can look at it, is father and son projects, and the issuers is a community of New York, in New York City, and the campaign is in Indiegogo. The short pitch is we are going to Kenya to build fence to protect rural beeves from honey badgers. And basically, they want to raise 20,000. It's a flexible type crowdfunding. As of today, they have reached 4,417. 19 days is left. A campaign video is very good. We really liked it. It's natural and it's real, telling a very compelling story. We love the ask section of it. And actually, it says camels, pigs, or whatever you can sell, go ahead and do the campaign. Watch this campaign, especially the video at the last 60 seconds. It really gets kind of really funny very fast. And I'm going to correct it as we go. Then the next thing is that it is 7 pitch there, and between $5 to $1,000. And they are going to leave after Christmas, and hopefully as they get there, they can go ahead and help these African beekeepers to produce more honeys, and actually that is helping them with their nutrition and also the help that they need to get. The last campaign that we are reviewing is a very interesting one. 3 topless gamers, they have decided to put their games together and create a so-called collaborative games that they can play. And the subject of this is sports friends featuring John Sebastian Just, and that's basically this the games that he has. Is a Kickstarter campaign. Is a compounding of 4 joyful, fun, local multiplayer games for PlayStation 3 and home computers. Their goal is to raise 150,000. At this time, they have raised 87,685. Congratulations, guys! 3 days is left, and the campaign has 11 so-called perks, and between 3 to 10,000. We really like the video. It's clean, it's engaging, telling their story. And again, this is about mixing 4 existing games to bring people together. John's Just, and also the other one is Hokra, Super Pole Riders, and how do you read the other one? Barra, Berry Ball. This means I'm not actually playing any game. I do not know this.
Barra Berry Ball, for whatever that is.
Thank you very much. Anyway, we wish them luck, and we hope they do a good job. These are very renowned and famous developers and players in the market. And that basically brings me to my section, that is reviewing this thing. Let me click and go to my friend Steve, and go to your section. And
let me just add a little tidbit to this.
Correct.
All of the gaming environments have been really a pioneer in leveraging the use of crowdfunding. So many of the folks that we've worked with in part, and we see and we have spent time with to understand how they were successful and valuable in their crowdfunding campaigns. Many of them were involved in the gaming industry, and we applaud, look at it this way. The gaming environment is full of creative thinking and creative minds, and what more creative way to use to get it funded than crowdfunding.
Correct. Actually, we are looking for anybody that is expert in making games. One of the games that we would like to see comes together is a game that they can play globally to clean up some of the environmental issues that we have, such as oil spills and other things together. If you guys have expertise or so, please contact us. We have a project going on actually right now.
Yes, looking for some more gaming smarts. Anyway, I'll move on to the subject of some of the educational events and crowdfunding conference announcements that we find going on in the country. And let me highlight to you an interesting title been there, crowdfunded that. December 12th, the LDA, which is the Louisville Digital Association, is hosting an event that those of you down there in the southern geographies in our nation might want to take a look at this. This first event in what will eventually be a series of events surrounding the crowdfunding phenomena will be an informal session describing some of the characteristics and uses of Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and a review of where we stand with respect to the Crowdfunding Jobs Act and what is the status of that. I think that's going to be really good for those that get a chance to attend. It's from the area entrepreneurs who have sort of been involved in crowdfunding for the last couple of years. This event is scheduled on Wednesday, December 12th at 5:30 at the iHub, 204 South Floyd. More details will be on our website. I want to give a nod and a shout out to one of our friends, Candace Klein at Somo Lend and Bad Girl Ventures. She has been asked to give a little bit of the insight she has in her support of crowdfunding, which has been for many years, well, at least for a long time now. We're partnering with Candace and helping those that look for debt-based micro-lending crowdfunding and have those questions and in the peer-to-peer environment. You know, ask us, since we help with crowdfunding planning. Refer to Candace and some of the other venues that are driving that for the small business ventures in that geography.
She's extremely knowledgeable in that area, yes.
Then we'll also hear from a few local entrepreneurs, Michael Jones, Menu and Hours, Maggie Huber, this is Louisville, and John Hoffman and Barbara Cullen, the Armored Car Theater, and about how they successfully raised startup funds on Kickstarter to drive their crowdfunding campaigns. It's free, it's held and sponsored by the Insider Louisville, and they're buying the pizzas. So all you got to do is show up and absorb some information. Let's move on to David's quote of the day in crowdfunding.
That is my favorite part of the show. Always choose this thing. This today is: obstacle cannot stop you, problems cannot stop you, most of all, other people cannot stop you. Only you and you can stop you. Then, if it comes to crowdfunding, just give it a try. It's hard work, but it will pay.
It's always hard work. Anything of value is hard work. For major developments in the crowdfunding industry, I would say from our last broadcast, we reached out to all of our followers, and I called for a Twinkie surge on behalf of Hostess and their baking crowdfunding effort. Let's call our Congress, let's call our senators, let's call the White House, let's let the SEC know that we would like to see crowdfunding implemented and implemented fairly and correctly and with good guidelines to make sure it's a viable, safe, a profitable way for both businesses and investors to help our economy grow.
Okay.
So now in closing.
Actually, I have one announcement. As we mentioned in our last, broadcast, we are working in crowdfunding planning to create a campaign internally that is going to be launched close to January, and basically it's going to be about creating a 5 one-hour video that basically goes to the topic of crowdfunding, very much hands-on experiences. And this videos basically is going to cover the cloud sourcing, the way it affects the crowdfunding, and basically how to use the cloud technology to really help the crowdfunding. The second video is going to be about how to build the crowd, and it's about how to use the social media to build the crowd before you start the campaign. Again, you need 60% of your crowd to be there before you launch. The third one is the most valuable one to me that I really like, is about years of experience that we have put together to learn how to search, how to do business intelligence, and how to use the search and business intelligence to create all the content and the information that one needs to have an intelligent crowdfunding campaign. The fourth video is going to be about what we call it crowdfunding blueprint. All the step-by-step areas that one needs to cover before it goes to the soft launch. And soft launch is the testing of the crowdfunding before you go to the hard launch. Least and not last hour is going to be based on the best practices that we see. As you see, we review the campaigns every day, and we see all the components of the campaign, and we are researching it and looking for the best practices that is out there. I'm getting all these practices put in the last video, and we want to really launch this thing and put it out there. And folks that they like to be sponsors, they can contact with us, and also they can join us when we do our crowdfunding campaign ourselves. And it is very interesting, Steve. How do you do crowdfunding campaign on how to do crowdfunding campaign? Seems like we have figured it out, and we are going to have fun with it.
Well, let's hope we take upon all of the lessons learned and all of the hard knocks of those stubbed toes and frustrated moments, and package that all together in a clear, concise, value-based set of lessons learned. And keep in mind, as the new regulations get implemented and as more and more campaigns start finding their success in crowdfunding, we will, I'm sure, meet up and connect with those folks, garner the 1 or 2 nuggets of success that they had, and continue to build them together in that information resource that is going to help the crowdfunding campaigns of all of you be successful.
And I just want to make sure that I cover one last thing here, because I'm extremely passionate about it. What you're going to see is field tested. It is not just a series of so-called recommendation. There were an article in Orange County Register this last week about 10 crowdfunding that happened in 2012 in Orange County, California. And I'm proud to say that our crowdfunding mentors and experts, they were engaged heavily with 2 of them, and both projects, they reached the objective and even surpassed it. Therefore, it's going to be field-tested, so-called knowledge sharing process.
All about those lessons learned.
Correct.
In closing,
okay, we want to make sure that for a detailed subject of the for detail on any of the subject of the campaign, if you have any so-called campaign yourself, you can contact us at crowdfundingplanning.com, and also we can also be reached at 877-448-4968 and info@crowdfundingplanning.com. The best way for our guests to get together and be able to come to our show, they can find information on Crowdfunding Daily News TV show or crowdfundingdailynews.com. Now go fund with
passion, a plan, and apply the power of one more nugget of more knowledge. Thanks so much for your time. Look forward to seeing you again at our next broadcast.